first show of Talking Sports with Chris Powers. I'm excited to be here on Pelican Sports TV, which of course is covered on Cox Cable all over South Louisiana. Unbelievable. We are going to be on 5 times this week, every week, on Tuesdays at 11, Thursdays at 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., Fridays at 9 p.m., and on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. What we're going to do is we're going to basically, I've been in this broadcast business for over 40 years now, and I know the ins and outs and what have you. I've had a lot of great people that I've known over the years, so I'm excited. We're going to be bringing them on and what have you and having a good time with this. It's not going to be a rumor mill. I'm not going to be doing the rumor mill because right now it just seems like the media has no credibility at all. And that's the sad part about this. Remember, Lincoln Riley was coming to Baton Rouge. He was coming to LSU. We saw the plain manifest that he was coming. Everybody was thinking, and his last game at Oklahoma, they played the Calling Baton Rouge song from Garth Brooks. Everybody thought he was coming. And the whole time, he was negotiating with USC. And LSU was negotiating with Brian Kelly. So they totally got that wrong. Remember when Oregon coach Dan Lanning was in Tuscaloosa? His plain manifest, just like Lincoln Riley's manifest, had him in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he was watching Terminator movies with his son up in Oregon, up in Eugene. No credibility with the media hardly anymore. Texas A&M reporter saying that he was confident that Brian Kelly was going to Michigan if Harbaugh left to go to the National Football League. He was confident. Then Bruce Feldman picked it up, and it made news all over the place. And Brian Kelly had no intention of going to Michigan, and Michigan had no intention of hiring Brian Kelly. That's the credibility we're getting. That guy Cornbread, who is, I think, a podcaster, he's a podcaster, said that A&M paid their recruits that year. They had the big number one recruiting, what was almost 3 years ago, $30 million. He was off by $29 million. They had $1 million, $1 million to give to their recruits. We're going to try to be as right on this show as we possibly can. We're not going to go by innuendos and rumors. You know, the thing about it is, when Nick Saban came here, Nick Saban went to TJ Ribbs, his wife Terry Saban went to TJ Ribbs. They had a list of coaches who they would like to see. Nobody had Nick Saban on the radar coming to LSU. Nobody. And she checked Nick Saban's name on the list, and Nick Saban comes in 2000. So we're going to try to be as credible as we possibly can. So if I'm listening to Bruce Feldman or I'm listening to this guy who says Kelly's going to Michigan, guarantees it, and then it doesn't happen, why would I want to listen to that guy again? If he tells me it's raining, I know it's not raining, he's peeing down the back of my neck. You don't want to listen to things like that. You want to be able to listen to credibility, you want to listen to what's right, and you want to listen to it, to me, what's authentic. And so half the time, let me tell you this. Let me tell you the way athletic directors work, because I've been around these collegiate athletes for a long time. They'll tell one of their people that work in the SID department, put out a statement that Lincoln Riley is the lead guy, when the whole time that guy is not even, Scott Woodward's not even looking at Lincoln Riley. He was looking at Brian Kelly the whole way, and thank God he did. He looked at Brian Kelly on the whole time. And that way, the media and everybody else thinks Lincoln Riley's coming, when the whole time Brian Kelly was the one that was coming. And that's the way it works in college athletics. So we know that we're not going to just put out something to put it out, even though it makes national news. And it continues to do that. Here's a prime example just this weekend. A college football playoff committee member denies the report that ESPN has a deal with the college football playoffs. It was worth over $7 billion. He said that's not true. They had it reported everywhere, but I told a friend of mine when I saw that, I said, why hasn't ESPN released that? ESPN would have been the first one to release that if that was true. Everybody else had it on. Everybody. But ESPN didn't put it on because of the fact they knew it wasn't true. And it's not true. Now, it might happen a little later down the line, but as of right now, it is not true. And, boy, I tell you what, if I was one of those ESPN guys that got laid off, last year before the football season started because they didn't have enough money, and you're going to bid $7 billion for a college football playoff, and you laid me off because you said you didn't have any money, I wouldn't be happy right now. But so that's not true right now. Now, ESPN said they're going to bid for it, but Fox said they're going to outbid them. Fox said they're ready to put a major, mega deal together. If college football playoffs was smart, they do it both ways. They do one on Fox and also one on ESPN, because that's good, because I cannot stand when they go to the Rose Bowl all day long. Everybody says, well, that's really feels like a championship caliber deal. Well, of course it does, because a pregame shows the whole day there, and then halftime and everything else, and then right after the Rose Bowl, they go right to the Sugar Bowl that's standing for the kickoff. They don't give the Sugar Bowl any justice at all. I can't stand that. I think ESPN has too much on their networks. I think they need to split it like the NFL does, have it on as many networks as they possibly can. All right, when we come back, we're going to be talking about LSU sports. We got Chris Blair, the play-by-play man for LSU sports, going to join us coming up right here next as we continue. It's Talking Sports with Chris Powers right here on Pelican Sports TV. Back in a moment.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouget. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouget today.
We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadia and I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and starts a party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10. The 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival is just around the corner, and the fun begins on Saturday, March 23rd for the Julian Dufresh Strawberry Day in the Park. There'll be a wing cook-off, car show, strawberry auction, bake-off, and more. Plenty of fun for the whole family. Then, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival runs from Friday, April 12th to Sunday, April 14th, with live music, and the parade is on Saturday, April 13th. Get involved in the egg toss and the always popular strawberry eating contest. Of course, get the best strawberries in the world, grown by local farmers. The biggest festival in the South, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival, April 12th through 14th. We'll see you there.
All right, welcome back, everybody, right here as we continue with Talking Sports with Chris Powers, trying to get a hold of Chris Blair, play-by-play guy for LSU Athletics. And, of course, 2 million households that this reaches. Cox Cable is unbelievable. We're on Cox Cable, and it reaches 2 million households, 89% of the New Orleans market. 89%. Here in Baton Rouge, about 300,000 households and 140,000 in the Lafayette area. So we're very excited to bring it on. Alan, what have you been having me do this show? You wanted me to do this show, what, 3, 4, 5 years ago? Finally got on and finally said yes. So we're going to get married, Alan. We're going to finally get married. Unbelievable. What a big weekend for LSU sports. LSU Tigers gymnastics beat Auburn on Friday. LSU softball beats Oklahoma State on Saturday. They remain undefeated. They get rained out the rest of the way on Saturday and all day on Sunday, but they still are undefeated. That is huge. LSU basketball beats South Carolina. It comes from, I think, 17 down and beats South Carolina at South Carolina. The guy that was there doing it, he is, to me, I think, one of the best play-by-play guys in college and in pro sports. And I'm going to get on that in just a moment. His name is Chris Blair. He joins us right now, voice of the Tigers. Chris, how you doing, my friend?
Chris, I'm doing great, man. What an intro. I appreciate all of that. But, yeah, it's been a busy and exciting last couple of days for LSU athletics, as it has been for quite a while now.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll tell you what an unbelievable game. Down by 17 in that game against South Carolina. And so a lot of people are saying, and I agree to that, I don't think that they're as bad as their record is. I think that this team is building to where it could be a very good team coming up.
No, I think so. I mean, I think they have just now gone through 7 or 8 games in conference play against really, the teams that early on, outside of South Carolina, were expected to kind of contend for an SEC crown. So it's been a tough road here of late. And again, the Tigers have been involved, I think, in 6 games decided by, 4 or fewer points. So they've been right there on the cusp. And Saturday at South Carolina was, again, I think that's what makes it most special. You look back to last Tuesday, another close game. You had a shot at the buzzer to send it to overtime. It just hits off the front lip of the rim and doesn't go. And it was another second-half comeback effort. And, they put together a 16-point comeback effort on Saturday against the Gamecocks, who, again, had a double-digit lead at the half. They built it up early in the second half, and you kind of start talking about, I've seen this movie before, but maybe the ending will be different. And luckily for LSU and Matt McMahon, it was just a really all-out team effort. You could go up and down the guys who stepped on the floor, and big moments that they had to deliver defensively, rebounding, offensively. They delivered. It was a total team win, and I was super pleased and happy for the entire staff and players.
Yeah, you get a guy at the free throw line that hits 80% of his free throws, and he nails both of them to win the game. Unbelievable. Well,
that's how sport is sometimes, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, it taketh, it giveth, and it taketh away. I mean, Jordan Wright was the guy who had the shot, there at the end of the Florida game to send it to overtime. And, again, that's a guy at that point of the floor on that area that more times than not, you're thrilled that he's got a shot with 2 seconds to either tie or win it, and it just didn't go down. So then move fast forward to Saturday, on the road again, tight game. And by the way, Jordan Wright had given up every ounce of sweat he had. I mean, the guy was literally doing everything he could. Didn't have the greatest shooting day, but he played good defense, on-the-ball defense. He got some rebounds that were key. And then to be able to go to the line and this time not only tie it, but give your team a 1-point lead late, I think that's just due for what happened to him on Tuesday.
This team could be a scary team come March Madness in that SEC tournament. That ought to be a lot of fun. So baseball-wise, let's take a look at that. Jay Johnson last week tells the media that, this year's team is going to be totally different from last year's team. When a coach says that usually means you got a few players back and what have you, and, it's going to be a different demeanor and all that stuff. Well, boy, he really means it. Chris, you got 4 new infielders, potentially 4 new infielders, 3 new outfielders. Brady Neal returns at the catcher position, so almost that'll be new because he was injured last year, I should say. And then you've got a bunch of new pitchers. This really is a whole new baseball team.
Oh, completely. I mean, when you look at the roster, I mean, there are guys who are expected to step up. That, again, the similarity, I think, Chris, is the fact that last year Jay did a marvelous job with a very deep and talented roster of being able to keep those guys, going into last year, keep those guys LSU Tigers, because we're talking about some of the best prep athletes, some of the best collegiate athletes in the country when it comes to baseball that either came as freshmen or came as transfers. And suddenly, hey, there's only 9 position players, 8 including a pitcher. We can only put so many, 9 in the lineup. Some guys are going to have games where they don't play. Sometimes they're going to come in mid-game. Sometimes they'll play the whole game. I just thought they bought into the team mentality. So the similarity, I know you asked me about differences, but the similarity is you got a same group, talented group, young guys, some transfers, couple of pieces from last year's team, but there's still not enough at-bats and not enough innings to go around because, that's the secret, I think, that at least Jay Johnson through 2+ years has been able to do, and that's the similarity. But, yes, when you're talking about the names and who's going to be relied upon on the mound, both as starters, both as relievers, both as closers, along with, the lineup that you're going to have. I mean, yesterday, Stephen Milam, a freshman, leads off. In the 3rd game of the season, 3rd game of his career, and he just goes incredible. I mean, he looked like a veteran out there, going 4 for 6, 3 runs batted in, 4 runs scored. I mean, it's a talented team. Different names, to be sure.
Wow.
There's no lack of talent on this year's baseball team.
Including the number 1 recruit in the nation, Cam Johnson. I can't wait to watch this guy pitch. He pitches 97-mile-an-hour fastballs. I can't wait to see that guy play.
Yeah, we got a chance to see him in his debut yesterday, and one of the issues, again, he is super talented, left-hander throwing 95, can run it up there 97, 98, as you mentioned. He's got a ton of run on his fastball. I mean, it is so deceiving to watch him pitch because you see the movement of the baseball and you go, okay, was that a wipeout slider? And then you look at the radar gun and it's 96. He just has, Coach Yeski told us 18 to 22 to 23 inches of run on a fastball. Now, the problem is containing that and getting it over the strike zone, because if you can get it in the strike zone, in essence, a right-handed hitter, you're going to throw the way he throws a fastball. You're going to release it behind the hitter to watch it hit the outer portion of the plate with that much run. Once he gets that zeroed in, that's about as unhittable a pitch as you can come up with. For example, last year, Paul Skeens, as great as he was, and he was, I think, the greatest college pitcher I've ever seen, I think most would agree. I mean, he had 11 to 12 inches of run on a fastball, which last year all of the analysts were just going gaga over. Well, get ready for Cam. He's once he figures that out, he's going to be dangerous.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Let's go back a little bit briefly to last year, because everybody talked about pitching, and if you don't have good pitching, you're not getting to Omaha. You got to have good pitching. So last year, even the ESPN announcers were saying they didn't feel that LSU, and that was in Omaha, they didn't feel LSU a pitching staff was strong enough to make it to the finals and not only win the finals. So they lose that first game. Well, they lose that game against Wake Forest. Then they win out the rest. They get to the championship round. They beat Florida the first game. Florida beats them like crazy the second game. Then LSU beats them like crazy the third game. Was it coaching that was that way, or were they lucky that some of their pitchers that they pitched, their starting pitchers, just went deep into those games? Was it a combination of both? What happened last year for LSU's pitching staff to really take control and win this game, win the series, and win the national championship?
Well, first of all, that's why they're ESPN announcers. No, I'm joking. Just joking. No, I think, again, when you look at the numbers coming down the stretch, and really from SEC play on, the bullpen was very undependable at times. Right. There were games that LSU had to win, and you kind of got the sense, and I agree with all the guys on ESPN, it really looked like LSU had to outscore good opponents. It was going to be 13 to 11. It was going to be 15 to 12. It was going to be 10 to 9. But, Jay always had the belief. I mean, when you talk to him, he said, these guys got good stuff. I trust the guys out of the bullpen. They haven't been able to put it together yet. You would, maybe go to the bullpen, 2 or 3 guys would come in, and maybe 2 of the 3 would have a good outing, or 1 of 3 would have a good outing. But there was a letdown somewhere. But I think the stuff was there. The talent was there. Some of it, I think, had to do with confidence. Some of it, I think, had to do with the rhythm. As Jay has said many times, he's never had a team perform at a peak level like LSU did in the postseason. From the regional to the super regional to Omaha, they performed as well as any team he's ever coached. Now, that says a lot because he's coached some pretty good teams. But I think it was just kind of being around the guys when we got to Omaha, there was just a sense of we're a brotherhood. We've had a good season, a really solid season, but we're not going to be remembered if we don't come over here and get it done. And, credit the pitching staff. Guys who had struggled in conference play came in and delivered. And, I think it's not an accident. I don't think it was they just got lucky and guys got hot. They continued to work on it. And it helps when your coach has confidence in you. And, again, he's going to make you grind. He's going to make you put in the work. But it's not in a negative way. And I think because Jay keeps things positive, eventually when the light came on, it was lights out for everybody else.
So Thatcher Hurd looks like he's going to be the number 1 guy, the Friday night starter. Is he going to be able to – you think he'll be able to handle that pressure and be that guy?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think last year there was a little bit of a learning curve. Again, he has great stuff. They have tons of confidence in him. But coming in from the Pac-12 to the SEC, no disrespect to the Pac-12 or Pac-2, whatever it is today, it's just different. I mean, SEC baseball, as Jay has said many times, there's college baseball and there's SEC baseball. It's like being on the earth and being on the face of the moon. It's just different. And, again, I think he kind of got used to that. And then, like I said earlier, I think he had to get some confidence, and he was able to do that, with having a couple of good outings late and a couple of good innings. You have to build it inning by inning. So I think he's built for it. But, I'm not convinced, and, if you've been around Jay long enough, you'll know that there's nothing in stone when it comes to, weekend rotations. I think he might be the guy to get it started, but I'm not so sure he'll always be that guy. There's certainly some candidates in there, including some younger guys and some newcomers that I think before this season is over may be your game one starter.
Wow. Tommy Tanks White, best third baseman in the country, according to just about everybody. He's unbelievable in the field and also at the bat, of course. We know what he did last year was magical. The pressure's on him. But, and Chris, I know a whole new different team, whole new different coach. When I see Tommy Tanks, I want to think of that 2020 LSU football team when in 2019 everybody left. Remember, Jamar Chase didn't want to play that year, so he sat out. Then, you had the DB that said, you know what, I'm not going to play. That's Derek Stingley, the cornerback. Well, he wanted to play, but he got injured. And a lot of people said they were like the players were looking over the fence, say, where'd all my buddies go? I mean, I hope there's no – I guess what I want to say is I hope there's no hangover this year from last year's superstar-studded team to this year, Tommy Tanks really being kind of the only guy to say, hey, where all my guys went?
Well, I'm sure that he certainly misses the guys that went through that magical year, just like those in 2019 on the football team. But the good news is again, Jay is such a practical manager, so to speak, of his squad that, Tommy doesn't have to have that pressure. In fact, they're trying intentionally to take that pressure off of him. Tommy, go do what you do. You can make routine to difficult plays at third. You're not going to be a Gold Glove winner at third base, but just go do what we need you to do, which is exactly what he did last year. And then when it comes to what he does at the plate, I mean, he's about as close to a machine with a bat that you will see. So, again, I'm sure he misses his teammates, but he's got a great group of talent around him. These guys spend so much time together that it's kind of hard not to create a brotherhood well before you get to opening day of a given season. So, again, I think some of it helps that he doesn't have to put unneeded pressure. Tommy just needs to be Tommy. Go out there and tank the baseball.
All right, now time to brag on you, my brother. I'm going to do it because I'm telling you what, I really do think you're one of the best in the pro and the collegiate level. Let me explain what this guy does. Okay, so in August, he's getting his affiliates ready for football. In September, he starts play-by-play for LSU football, and in November, basketball season starts. So if they've got a mid-week game, this guy will do a Wednesday game. Chris Blair will do a Wednesday, Thursday game. Then he'll fly out if the team's got to fly out or bus out on Friday and go where he's got to go. Then comes back, and he gets ready for the next week and what have you. Then basketball season gets going. Football season's over. Basketball season gets going, and he does all of the games midweek and also on the weekends, travels with a team and what have you, has to learn the roster. And if you've never done play-by-play, there's people that can do play-by-play football and baseball. Baseball's the easiest. Football is a little tougher. Basketball is the toughest because you can't cheat. You've got to know all the rosters. You've got to be able to say on radio, he's going to the left side, he's going to the right side, he shoots from the elbow and what have you. And you got to be quick at doing this. You have to make your studies. You got to be able to do the stats quick. Chris Blair does that. Also, Chris Blair then starts baseball. So this is what this guy did. South Carolina on Saturday. Then he comes back to Baton Rouge. Doesn't go to church on Sunday or sit down with the family and have dinner. On Sunday, he does the LSU baseball game. And today he's going to do the baseball game again. So, Chris, I think unbelievable what you do. And I'm going to also brag about your pitch. Because this is something, even with, I've got a strong voice, and everybody's always told me that, but even when I get excited, my pitch kind of goes up a little bit high to where yours stays as an even keel. You get excited, you don't lose that pitch, you do perfect. I'm telling you, man, you're one of the best play-by-play guys in all of America.
Well, Chris,
I'm going to be your agent, man. I want to be your agent coming up.
Yeah, no, that would be great because I tell you what, after you told all of the things that I've done, I don't know that makes me good. I think it makes me stupid. It is a crazy schedule, especially this time of year. But I tell people all the time that I'm truly blessed, just extremely lucky to be here at LSU. I get to work with these great coaches. I get to work and be around these great student athletes, the great staff that works in our administration. And, I'm sitting here today on a Monday afternoon about, 75 feet above, maybe 55 feet above home plate. And in just a little bit, I'm going to get to watch some of the best college baseball players in America. Wednesday night, I'll be courtside near midcourt watching Kentucky and LSU battle. Get to see those great student athletes, play college basketball inside the PMAC. and then come, September or so, we'll be, 50-yard line at Tiger Stadium. I mean, you'd be crazy to complain about getting the opportunity to do that, and it is an absolute thrill. It's a lot of time away, and I'm blessed that I got a family that understands that, and we certainly try to make the most of things when I am in town or we do have some time off. But this is an absolute thrill, and to anybody that says that sounds like a lot, it is. But as a kid who grew up in Eastern Kentucky, our only option for the most part was getting down in the mines and getting in these dark holes to coal mine. So I'm never going to complain about the schedule I got now.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're unbelievable. Like I said, just incredible. Thank you for joining us, and hope that you can join us again throughout the season, my friend. Chris Blair, like I said, we're very lucky to have him at LSU. He's unbelievable, and he does a great job. And again, he's going to be on baseball this afternoon. And like you said, on Wednesday and whatever, basketball's still going on, and he'll do baseball and hopefully call another national championship for the LSU baseball team coming up. So, again, thank you for all you do, my friend.
No, Chris, you're too kind. Appreciate it, and look forward to getting on with you very soon.
All right, Chris Blair, play-by-play guy for LSU right here as we continue. Coming up next, we're talking Lady Tiger basketball. We'll have the Advocate beat writer Reed Darcey on the show. We're going to be talking Lady Tiger basketball. They get a game tonight as well. We'll do that when we come back right after this timeout. This is Talking Sports with Chris Powers right here on Pelican Sports TV.
The 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival is just around the corner, and the fun begins on Saturday, March 23rd for the Julian Dufresh Strawberry Day in the Park. There'll be a wing cook-off, car show, strawberry auction, bake-off, and more. Plenty of fun for the whole family. Then, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival runs from Friday, April 12th to Sunday, April 14th with live music, and the parade is on Saturday, April 13th. Get involved with the egg toss and the always popular strawberry eating contest. Of course, get the best strawberries in the world, grown by local farmers. The biggest festival in the South, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival, April 12th through 14th. We'll see you there.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and starts a party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the Natty Package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10.
All right, welcome back, everybody, as we continue to talk sports with me, Chris Powers. I want to thank the Strawberry Festival, the Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival, for sponsoring the show. It's coming up April 12th through 14th. I want to tell you the back way to get there, because if you've been, you know that the roads are stacked on the I-55 going southbound to get off of the Ponchatoula exit. I'm going to tell you the back way to get there. It's one of the best festivals in the South, not only Louisiana, but the South. And we'll be talking about them coming up here in just a moment. We've got a big spread from TJ Ribs that brought us right here, so we're going to be talking about that. Another big sponsor of the show, Tony Clayton, a good friend of mine, a sponsor of the show, and we'll have more and more as time goes on. We're talking LSU Lady Tiger basketball right now with Baton Rouge Advocate beat writer Reed Darcey on the line. Reed, how you doing, my man?
Chris, I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. LSU, 5 games left. Are you kidding me? Didn't we just celebrate the national championship over in Dallas? We got 5 games left of the regular season, starting, of course, tonight against Texas A&M.
Oh, yeah. The season has gone by in a blink. It feels like just yesterday, we were watching them, raise that banner and then get their rings. And the season has really gone by super fast, but now it gets busy. Now we got March coming up. We got some postseason action coming up, so it should be fun. It should be interesting. So just like the entire season has been.
No question about that. They're okay. So we're probably not going to win. They're not going to win the SEC regular season championship. South Carolina won yesterday. Now that makes LSU 4 games out, with, just as we mentioned, 5 games to go. LSU has a record of 21-4 overall. They're ranked 13 and 14 and 1 poll. So they looked good in the final stretch. They're number 1 in scoring at 92.7 points per ball game in the Southeastern Conference. Number 1 in scoring margin on all offense, of course. Number 1 in field goal percentage. Number 1 in offense and defensive rebounds. Number 3 in scoring defense. Number 4 in hitting threes. So those stats look good for me, Reed. But the thing that I'm a little concerned about is bench play. How deep can this team go with a limited bench?
Yeah, I think the key there is going to be last year POA. LSU doesn't have the numbers that they did at the start of the season. They don't have Samaya Smith. They don't have Kateri Poole. So they're a lot less deep than they would have been at the start of the season had they not lost those 2 players. So I think the bench they're going to have to rely on a core rotation of 6 or 7 players if they want to really advance into the tournament and make a deep run into the tournament. And all 6 or 7 of those players are going to have to play really well. And the point that I keep making, last year POA, she might be the X factor here. She might be the sort of key that unlocks maybe the best version of this LSU team, because when she's playing well, she helps them solve a number of different problems. She helps Haley Van Lith sort of slide off to the off-guard spot where she's more natural, where she's more comfortable playing offense. She also, gives, the more minutes she plays, the fewer minutes the starting guards have to play, so that keeps them fresher down the stretch, especially if they get into a close game. And she helps on the defensive end of the floor. At times they've struggled to defend opponents this season, and she's one of the best defenders they have, maybe their best perimeter defender, the way she moves her feet, the way she takes charges and gets extra possessions. So she coming off the bench, she's going to keep coming off the bench if she keeps playing well. That's big for LSU's postseason hopes, because they're going to need her to play well.
No question about that. Because you remember in the national championship game last year, first half of the game, Angel Reese got in foul trouble. They were getting in foul trouble with some of their big players. So then they bring it off the bench, and that bench really propelled them, even that last second shot at halftime. And then in the second half, the Stars got going back again, and that propelled LSU to win that national championship. So one of those big stars, Angel Reese, is back, of course, this year. She leads the team in scoring, averaging right at over 23 points per ball game. Is she on that same level she was last year, Reed?
Yes, she is. And I think you can make a case that she's been even better, particularly if you look at her passing numbers. Her assist numbers have been really well this season. They've done really well this season, especially the last few games. Kilmulke has talked a lot about her improved passing ability, and I think it's a pretty underrated part of her game. What's different this year is that she's got so much more shooting around her. She's got so much more, dynamic guards around her who can space the floor and hit threes at a consistent rate. So her assist numbers look really great. LSU really tries to feed her the ball in the post, and what you see teams doing is that they're fronting her. They're trying to prevent her from catching it in the post, and then when she does catch it in the post, they're sending double teams at her. They're sending triple teams at her, and she's skilled enough. She's selfless enough to pass the ball and find her open teammates. And I think that's a big part of what LSU is doing offensively lately. They're getting the ball into Angel Reese, and then she's sort of finding open players on the perimeter so they can knock down shots. So to me, I think she's scoring about as well as she did last year. She's rebounding about as well as she did last year, which is, 2 of the top rates in the country. But her passing really has been improved year over year, and I think it's a big part of her game now.
Wow. And speaking of outside shooting you just talked about, Michaela Williams is such a sweet shot. I mean, she's got a great jump shot. She's averaging 15.9 points as a freshman. She's going to be a very special player at LSU before it's all said and done.
Yeah, she's unbelievable, Chris. It's sort of, you don't want to get hyperbolic here. You try to pump the brakes a little bit, but, she can be as good as she wants to be. Her potential is through the roof. She can score at all 3 levels. She's shown flashes of being a good passer. I think as soon as next year, depending on what Haley Van Lith does, sort of, deciding whether she wants to go pro or not, as soon as next year, Michaela Williams could be that lead ball handler. She could be that main point guard, that one who really initiates the offense. That's a part of her game as well. That's something she's certainly capable of, and she's only a freshman. So, given the way she's playing right now, you can only think that she's going to get even better as her career goes on. And so this probably is her program going forward, depending what some of the veterans do with their decisions on their future.
Haley Van Lith, you just talked about her. Is she more comfortable at the number 2 guard, or does she not mind doing point guard? What is she more comfortable in?
She's more comfortable in the 2-guard role because it's the role she played at her first 3 seasons at Louisville. She's more of a off-ball creator type, scorer type of player. This season it's been an adjustment for her playing point guard. She's never done that in her career. It's not the position she played that sort of got her career off the ground and it really turned her into one of the best guards in the country. She's struggled at times. She's been up and down. She's had some moments. She's had some flashes where it looked like she's figured it out, but after then she sort of fell back to earth and sort of struggled with her shot, struggled with turnovers, struggled to really adapt to that position. So it's been an up and down season for her. And the quote that keeps sticking with me was after the Florida game where she scored a season high. I believe it was 21 points. Mm-hmm. After that game, she said she, quote, decided to be herself. And I thought that was an interesting quote because it implies that, in the games around that game, she sort of didn't feel like herself. It's kind of been an awkward position for her, trying to play that new position. But what she sort of is starting to learn is that she doesn't really, to get the best version of herself, she doesn't need to fit into the system. She's capable of being the system herself with how experienced and how skilled she is offensively. So I think she's starting to figure out. We'll see how Kim Mulkey sort of balances the guard rotations going into the postseason with her and Boa. But I think it'll be interesting to see how she, keeps finding a way to adapt and keeps trying to figure out that role.
We're talking about LSU Lady Tiger basketball with Reed Darcey, the beat writer for the Baton Rouge Advocate. We talked about Van Lith. She was the number 1 transfer LSU in the nation coming in. Morrow was the number 2 transfer. Van Lith is averaging 11.6 points per ball game. Morrow a little bit better at 17.3. But that goes to show you with transfers, especially basketball. That's why the one thing I'm not a big fan on transfers or anything like that, the one and done like they do in the men's, is because it takes time to get acclimated to a team. You can't just come on there and just immediately, get going and get their flow. You got to get Kim Mulkey's way that she's doing defense and offense and what have you. So it's a whole new coaching style. That's why I'm not a big fan of these transfers. It takes a while to get the transfer going. I'm not going to give up on these two, and I know you probably not as well, Reed.
No, absolutely not. And you're definitely right. It definitely does take time, and I think it has taken time. Whenever you get this, assemblage of talent together, Angel Reese, Michaela Williams, Haley Van Lith, Anissa Morrow, and Flazé Johnson, all those players need shots. They need touches. They need to have the ball in their hands if they want to be the best version of themselves. I think the challenge that Kim Mulkey and her staff have faced this year is what's the best way to distribute those touches? What's the best way to distribute those minutes? So you can really find an equitable way to really distribute the offensive possessions and the offensive looks. If you compare them to a team like South Carolina, they're undefeated this season. Their numbers look better. Their record looks better. They don't have as much talent as LSU does, but they're the better team because the pieces all fit much better together than the pieces that LSU has does. So does that mean that LSU can't beat them? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that it's going to take a little bit more time to find the right balance, and how to distribute shots and how to distribute possessions and offense. It's not. It wasn't going to be easy. It was never going to be easy. Kim Mulkey knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but the whole point is, just figure out that March. Once March hits, maybe they're looking more cohesive. They're looking more together, and if they are, then it's going to be a scary team to face because I bet you nobody's going to want to face that team.
No, definitely so, and I want to talk about that coming up here in a moment too. Before, I want to tell you about Della Rosero. She, as a freshman, she was the number 4 recruit in the nation. I like her down low. I'm telling you, I don't know if she'll be the best big person ever at LSU. I mean, that's going to be a big shoes to fill. But I'm going to tell you, I'd like her this early in her career. I like her confidence down low.
Yeah, she showed flashes at some point this year. I think if Samaya Smith hadn't gotten hurt, we probably wouldn't have seen very much of her at all. But because Samaya Smith got hurt, she has had to play a lot more minutes, and LSU has probably had to rely on her a lot more than they expected her to. And she's been solid. She's played really well as of late. What stands out to me about her is that for her size, she's got a really nice touch, a really, really soft touch around the rim, and that's sort of where most of her offense comes from, in those little layups and floaters around the rim. Kim Mulkey has sort of said repeatedly that she wants her to be more aggressive, and she wants her to really be more assertive and to go after her points and to attack smaller guards and call for the ball when she's got a mismatch. She's really trying to bring that extra edge out of her, and I think that's what you've seen the last few games. She's playing well. She's shown flashes of being a good rim protector at times too, using her height and length to test shots. So I think she can be a really good player. She can be a real good contributor for LSU later in her career, because the minutes that she's getting now will sort of fast track her development and turn into a player that LSU can rely on as she gets later into her career.
So right now, most people have LSU as the number 4 seed. But again, we got 5 games left to play. By the time they make the tournament, if they make a deep run of the SEC tournament, they could move to maybe number 3 seed or what have you. But imagine this, Reed, and tell me this. So we've got a bracket, say one side of the bracket, and we've got number 1 seed, and LSU gets the number 4 seed. Well, guess what? That means they're going to face LSU in the Sweet 16 in round 3. That's scary enough. If I'm the number 1 seed, I'm like to the NCAA selection committee, what did I do to you? Because, I mean, that's going to be scary for you to play. And if they're number 3, that means the number 2 seed would see them in the Sweet 16. I wouldn't want to see LSU as the number 4 seed right now if I'm an opponent out there.
No, absolutely not. They're the most talented team in the country. I mean, we knew that going in. It's just a matter of getting them all on the same page and finding, the best version of themselves and sort of figuring that out. And if they can sort of figure it out the next few games, then like I said earlier, and you're absolutely right, no team is going to want to play them. But between then, they are kind of right on that edge of that number 4 seed right now. They've got 5 games left. They really can't afford another 1 or maybe 2 losses here, because you lose a couple more games, then you lose those first 2 home games of the tournament, and that's big. Kim Mulkey has, this will be the third season LSU. She hasn't gone on the road to start the tournament yet. So that's going to be big. And if you look at their next 3 games, they're not gimmies. They should be favored in the next 3 games, but you've got Texas A&M, who's a really good defensive team on the road. Then you come back home to play Auburn. Auburn beat them earlier this year, and then they go to Knoxville, and they go to Tennessee. Tennessee's not the team that they usually are this season, but they're pretty dangerous, and LSU is playing them on the road in a really tough place to play, Knoxville. So the next 3 games are going to be difficult. We're going to learn a lot about this LSU team. If they can win, then they can probably solidify that top 4 seed and host the start of the tournament. But if they drop a couple of these games, then they're in danger of going on the road to start the tournament, which would be a bad sign for them.
Reed, one day I'm gonna join you at a press conference over there with Kim Mulkey. Kim Mulkey reminds me when I covered the Saints and Jim Mora. All the media was scared to ask Jim Mora a question. When Rick Pitino was coaching in Kentucky, Kentucky played LSU at the PMAC. I was the only one asking the question because the rest of the media was too scared. So I'm gonna join you one day covering Kim Mulkey, because I know she could be scary, and I know she would jump on me for saying this right now, that I think that if Kim Mulkey was at LSU longer, I wish she came to LSU 100 years ago. I think if she was at LSU longer than she was right now, towards the end of her career, she's here. I think if she'd have came a lot sooner, she'd have almost the same amount of national championships as Pat Summitt does, because she has more resources at LSU. I know she'd probably kill me for saying that, but I'm telling you, Kim Mulkey, I don't know how long she's gonna coach at LSU, but she's not going to win just one national championship at LSU. I'm telling you, she's going to finish with about maybe 7 national championships in her career, and that's pretty impressive for her championship caliber I mean, all of her life, from AAU to Hammond High School to Louisiana Tech to the Olympic teams. That lady has got nothing but championship pedigree in her blood all the way.
Yeah, she every level she's played at, she's won a championship. She took Hammond High to 4 state championships there. She helped lead them there, and then she won a couple at Louisiana Tech. She won a couple as an assistant coach at Louisiana Tech. Then she won 3 at Baylor, and now she has 1 at LSU. So for sort of every stop she's made, she's won a championship. And I think if she's got, maybe another 8 to 10 years left here in LSU, yeah, she's probably going to get a couple more based on where the direction the program is headed. And I like what you said about Jim Moore in the press conference. I'd be happy to see you there. I'd be happy to hang out there. I know Jim Moore has produced some memorable moments of the year.
Oh, wow.
Kim is certainly one of a kind, and she sort of says whatever's on her mind, and you never really know what exactly she's going to say next. So that's a treat for all the media covering her because she makes things so interesting, and she makes things so fun, to be around. And because she's going to give you her honest take. She's going to give you what she thinks. I really believe that. She's genuine, and everything you hear her say is genuine and true to who she is. She's going to be herself no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what. I mean, I'll tell you a brief story. It was second to last year, Jim Mora at New Orleans Saints, and they just beat the Cincinnati Bengals to finish 8-8 on the season. One reporter asked, Coach, how did it feel to beat Cincinnati? You barely won that game. Now you finish 8-8 on the season. And you could hear a sigh from the rest of the media like, okay, this is going to show up on ESPN. And Jim Mora, fashion like he does. Well, no, it feels horrible to win a football game in the National Football League. What do you think? And I'm like, this is going to make ESPN. This is going to make ESPN today. And I know that's any moment now with Kim Mulkey. She could turn that just like that.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what clip you're referring to. I think there's also another clip of something he said, like diddly poo or something like that. Is that the term he used?
Uh-huh.
And then the playoffs one, playoffs.
That's a commercial now.
Oh, yeah.
That's a freaking commercial.
Yeah.
Well, Reed, I tell you what, man, I don't know if broadcasting's ever part of your deal, brother, but you're good. You did great. You did great. You had great information with us. I thank you big time. I love reading your articles in The Advocate because of the fact you're a great storyteller, and that's what you've got to be. You're a fact and storyteller. So you put me in the picture. You put me in the PMAC every single time I read your articles. I think you're a very young, talented young man, and I can't wait to continue to read your articles, my friend. Oh,
Chris, thanks so much, man. That really means a lot. Great meeting you. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you thinking of me and for reading. I don't know about being a broadcaster. I don't know about that, but maybe we'll see. And so I appreciate you helping out.
Well, brother, I will call you again on the show, for the remainder of this season if you'd be with us, man. I appreciate that.
Oh, I'm happy. Anytime. Anytime. Just let me know, all right?
Reed Darcey is the Advocate sports writer, beat writer for LSU Lady Tiger basketball. Look for big things from this young man because I'm telling you, he writes a very interesting article every single time I pick up the Advocate. When we come back, what's wrong with the NCAA? We're going to tell you about that coming up here next as we continue with Talkin' Sports with Chris Powers right here on Pelican Sports TV.
We already know that TJ Ribs on Acadian and I-10 is home to the world-famous baby back ribs. But did you know they're also champs in catering events and the most delicious wings in Baton Rouge? TJ Ribs wings are flavored to perfection and starts a party in your mouth. Served with homemade wing sauce and ranch dressing. TJ Ribs can also cater any event, large or small, with the MVP, the Heisman, or even if you're feeling the natty package. Call 225-283-1035. Come enjoy a drink at the 50-foot bar and take a picture with the Heisman Trophy at TJ Ribs, a Baton Rouge original for over 30 years on Acadian and I-10. The 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival is just around the corner, and the fun begins on Saturday, March 23rd for the Julian Dufresh Strawberry Day in the Park. There'll be a wing cook-off, car show, strawberry auction, bake-off, and more. Plenty of fun for the whole family. Then, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival runs from Friday, April 12th to Sunday, April 14th with live music, and the parade is on Saturday, April 13th. Get involved in the egg toss and the always popular strawberry eating contest. Of course, get the best strawberries in the world, grown by local farmers. The biggest festival in the South, the 52nd Annual Ponchatoula Strawberry Festival, April 12th through 14th. We'll see you there.
We're a nation of hardworking Americans, and businesses will always be the lifeline of this great country. As a business owner, you understand the importance of your reputation. In times of uncertainty, you need a real lawyer who's serious about protecting you and your business. You need a problem solver. You need the law firm of Clayton and Fouger. Tony Clayton is a proven trial lawyer. He'll defend you and your business to the fullest extent of the law. Protect your investment and call the law firm of Clayton and Fouger today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. All this food I got right here in front of me from TJ Ribs, a proud sponsor of the show. This is their award-winning big, nice wings here. We've got brisket here. Wow, look at that. That is unbelievable. Chimichangas here. Chimichangas, however you want to say, whatever part of the parish you're from. We got all the dipping sauce. I think it's potato salad. This is unbelievable. You get all this right here at TJ Ribs, and you've seen the commercials of what number you need to call for the catering. They can cater any event, large or small. If you can do it in the Superdome or what have you, they'll do anything you've got. And the birthday parties. Also, if you're doing a party you want to do at the TJ Ribs location at Acadian and I-10, you can do that. They have a special room for that as well. So definitely join them. Thanks so much for them for sponsoring our show here for the next few months. Again, TJ Ribs. I cannot wait to get into these wings. It's for Marty. It's for Jonathan is here. Alan is here. We're all going to eat of this right after this show is over. Thanks so much for providing lunch for us for TJ Ribs, and they can provide lunch or food for your party for there. We're going to air 5 times a week on Tuesdays at 11 a.m., Thursdays at 11 a.m. and 7 p.m., Fridays at 9 p.m., and Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. What's wrong with the NCAA? Let me count the ways. All right, number 1, the early recruiting period. No coach in America likes the early recruiting period in December. Not one. There's not a coach out there that's going to tell you they like it, but they've got to go through it. That's why it's shortening careers. Nick Saban, Harbaugh, Chip Kelly, it's shortening careers. An average college coach gets 2 weeks off every year. The average pro coach gets 5 weeks or more off. And I know what you're saying. They make millions of dollars, $10 million a year and all of that stuff. I understand that, but I'm going to tell you, you need to be a big fan of Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's one of the best coaches in college football, period. So this shortens that. A guy like that, Brian Kelly may not last 10 years now. He's 62 years old already. So when you're doing that, so then you go hire a younger guy. Now, you can maybe get away with that in the National Football League, like that's what's happening right now. But in college, you can't get an immature, young student athlete to respect a 34-year-old guy. It ain't going to happen. It's never happened in the past. It's not going to happen now. You're not going to see those guys winning national championships. You need a guy that they respect, they listen to, and they fear. I always say that as a parent. If your son or daughter don't respect you or don't fear you, you're in trouble, period. They got to be able to fear you. My son is a Marine, a 25-year-old Marine, sergeant in the Marine Corps. But he still does not want to let me down, and he still, it cringes when he hears my voice and if I get upset. That's the way it is, and that's the way you got to be. So I think this is the number one of the reasons why Nick Saban quit. And I know, again, we're not going to be crying over spilt milk that Nick Saban's gone. We're all excited at LSU and probably around the SEC and maybe around the nation. They're all excited. But the problem is when you get that early recruiting, for the NCAA, it's just what they did. They now have made it to where you got to spend more money in football. You have to hire general managers. So like in pro football, you have to hire general managers now, and they have to have a staff because they have to come up with a pool of players that you can pick from. And then the assistant coaches look at that, and they go from there. That ruins everything. And then right after the fall season started, instead of you worrying about the conference championship or a bowl game, you got to worry about that December recruiting time. Why did they put the December early recruiting in there? Nobody wants it. Put it in August before the season starts and you're done with it. Have them sign then in August, a high school senior. Have them sign before the season even gets going. And so Brian Kelly is concentrating totally on the fall season, and then the SEC championship, and then the bowl game. But instead, you have to worry about not only the recruits, you got to worry about your team transferring out, your players, or the transfer portal. It's a bunch of things that goes wrong over this. LSU profited $1.36 million this year in football, or 23 fiscal year. That used to be more than that. And the worst thing is they used to bail out other teams, other smaller teams like bowling or this or that or that. They're not going to be able to do that as much anymore. How much more is the budget going to keep on going and going? 2 years ago, LSU spent $742,000 on recruiting. Last year, they spent $1.9 million. That is double. That is double what they've been spending. Another thing I do not like about, and also this too, one more thing too, only 5% of universities made over $100 million. Over 5%. You know how much that is out of over 100 teams in college? That's only 23 to 25 universities that made over $100 million in total budget. That ain't going to happen. Other teams are struggling. How much more is the NCAA going to continue to drain these universities? It's unbelievable. Another reason why, NIL, don't like it. Nick Saban didn't like it at all. And the reason why, okay, so if I'm Marty, you've got a young child. Say you've got a son that's an offensive lineman. Alabama's offering $239,000 a year to play. Miami is offering $9 million a year to play. Where do you think he's going? He's going to Miami. And let me tell you an example of this. Miami has billionaires and they have Fortune 500 companies. Guess how many Fortune 500 companies Alabama has? Guess how many billionaires Alabama has? Zip. None. They've got none in the state of Alabama. No billionaires, no Fortune 500 companies. And Nick Saban saw that. Then he made several trips to Tommy Tuberville in Washington saying this has got to change. We got to change it. We got to put a cap on the NIL. And another thing about NIL, how long do you think Title IX is going to sit there and wait? How many of the female athletes are going to sit there and wait and say, okay, we sued you one time before, we're going to sue you again because we're not getting the same money the men are making? When do you think that's going to happen? It's going to happen soon. They've got to be able to fix this problem, whether it's the NCAA. And look, I don't think Tommy Tuberville or any congressman or senator from Washington should have anything to do with college sports. They can't even run the country, much less in college sports. We got a lot more pressing things they need to do in college sports. This has got to change because this is becoming, I'm telling you, you want to be like NASCAR. NASCAR went from 100-something thousand people in the stands and dropped off the cliff. Now nobody's in the stands. And you don't want college sports to be the same way. All right, we'll tell you more about college sports all next week and what have you. I hope you enjoyed the first show. We'll continue to be with you right here every single week as we are talking sports right here on Pelican Sports TV, seen over Cox Cable all over Louisiana, over about 2 million households that has it in Louisiana. And we'll be telling you more. The show will keep building and building and building. Until then, I'm Chris Powers saying so long, everybody. Have a great week.